Meine
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to be able to welcome State President Aquino as our honored guest here to Germany today. He is on a trip to Europe, and Germany is the fourth and last European stop on his trip. We were able to have a long exchange about our cooperation. We also had the opportunity to address a number of other possibilities of possible future cooperation. This visit takes place in the 60th year of existence of diplomatic relations between the Federal Republic of Germany and the Philippines. And in this overall context, we were able to underline our shared values, but also the fact that internationally we cooperate very closely. We addressed both bilateral relations and also, obviously, international conflict areas. You may remember that, sorry. You may remember that last November the Philippines unfortunately were affected by a very severe typhoon, and we both as a member of the European Union but also as the Federal Republic of Germany gave assistance, disaster relief. This was a matter of course for us. We see the Philippines undergoing a very dynamic growth period, which is why we encourage the President to also strengthen his contact with the German companies, with representatives of the German business communities. The contacts will be built on, and we think our cooperation can indeed increase. The Philippines just now ratified a cooperation agreement with the European Union, and I encourage the President to also pursue matters towards a free trade agreement, because that for us obviously would open up new avenues of mutual trade. In 2013, for the first time, we have been able to get a trade volume of more than 4 billion bilaterally. We think that we can build on this. This can be increased. For German companies, investments in the Philippines will be boosted if there is the right regulatory framework in place, if there is transparency, if competitive laws and also investment conditions are reliable, the legal situation too. We talked about the climate conference in 2015, and obviously the Philippines as a country that has a high degree of biodiversity that is also gravely affected by natural disasters. It is all the more important that we come to a binding agreement on climate change. We talked also about the internal peace process, the peace agreement that was concluded on Mindanao, which has a very strong Muslim minority. I think this was a tremendous political effort that was put into this. I commend the President on this tremendous effort, and I can only hope that for the future these efforts will be crowned by success. Thank you very much, President, for coming here. It is a new page that we've turned in our mutual relations, and I think this opens up great opportunities for further increasing our relations. I think we share a lot of common ground as regards how we see international conflicts. So I think our bilateral partnership after 60 years of diplomatic relations can only be labeled as a friendship and as very good indeed. Thank you.
Angela Merkel, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Chancellor Merkel, please accept our gratitude for the hospitality you have extended to me and my delegation on my very first visit to Germany. I find this occasion all the more meaningful as our nations commemorate two important occasions. First, the 60th anniversary since the establishment of diplomatic relations. And second, the 25th year since Germany graciously hosted my mother, Corazon C. Aquino, during her visit to your country in 1989. Then as now, Germany and the Philippines have stood side by side in upholding our shared values and principles, our adherence to democracy, human rights, inclusive growth and development, and the rule of law. Germany is a key ally, a strategic partner, and a reliable friend of the Philippines. With this visit, we reaffirm the deep partnership between our countries. By focusing on our mutual interests and our common aspirations and concerns, we are given the opportunity to propel our already robust relationship to even greater heights. Madam Chancellor, our meeting today reaffirms that strong bond we share. Our deep relations, without doubt, span a broad range of issues of mutual interest, such as labor, maritime cooperation and training, environment and natural resources management, defense and security training, manufacturing, the IT BPM sector, and healthcare, amongst many others. We recognize the strong bonds that tie us politically. We appreciate and thank all the German foundations who are active in the Philippines. The Friedrich Naumann Foundation, which is a partner of the party I lead, the Konrad Adenauer Foundation, the Friedrich Ebert Foundation, and the Hans Seidel Foundation, which worked with the foundation put up by my mother to represent and continue on their work on microfinance, human rights formation, and cooperatives development. We also share the belief that the primary duty of government is to advance the welfare of its citizens. We believe that the Philippines' economic resurgence and Germany's economic strength can only further expand the horizon of opportunities for our peoples. Today, the Philippines and Germany will sign two important documents: the Social Security Agreement between the Philippines and Germany, and the Memorandum of Understanding between the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority and the Federal Institute for Vocational Education and Training, or BIBV. Our two countries will also undertake greater cooperation in trade through the exchange of drafts that will formally establish the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Manila. The Social Security Agreement will contribute to providing a context of equality of treatment in the workplace. It will also improve the processing of claims and prevent dual coverage. This will consequently redound to the benefit of both Filipino and German nationals. On the one hand, the cooperation between TESDA and the BIBB will institutionalize regular dialogue and sharing of best practices between the Filipino and German policymakers and experts, and it will provide an institutional foundation to expand practical cooperation between our respective ministries as well as with the private sector. I am told that the German technical expertise were instrumental in the development of the Philippines' Dual Training System Act of 1994, and we continue to harness those expertise towards our mutual gain. The exchange of drafts on the establishment of the German-Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a welcome sign, especially now that the Philippines is indeed more open for business. With this development, we can see enhanced trade and investments, especially among the German Mittelstand. It will also establish the cooperation arrangements with and between local German chambers in Germany and the Philippines. These documents underscore our common vision to build a Germany and the Philippines where equitable prosperity and shared development are realities enjoyed by our peoples. It is this very context that informs our collective resolve to deepen relations at a time when we are confronted by complex challenges and needs that require not only the cooperation and understanding between our two countries, but that of the entire community of nations. On this note, as regards the territorial maritime disputes in Southeast Asia, the Chancellor and I share the conviction that this must be settled peacefully and should be based on international law. This commitment to upholding the welfare of peoples of goodwill is also reflected in our shared determination to address the worsening effects of climate change. Typhoon Haiyan showed that now, more than ever, the cooperation between developed and developing nations is an imperative. For our two nations, humanitarian assistance and disaster response are essential components of our cooperation. This morning, we took an even more promising step in discussing how our partnership can be enhanced through building climate-resilient communities. As we work to build back better, Germany continues to extend its generous assistance to my people. On behalf of my countrymen, I thank the Federal Republic of Germany once more for being a true friend to our people. Indeed, your nation's clear expression of solidarity with my countrymen will always be remembered and appreciated. Chancellor Merkel, our meeting today was indeed historic, insightful, and significant, one that embodies our common values and shared aspirations. We had the opportunity to deepen the relations between our countries and discuss our strategic vision for the future of the Philippines-Germany relationship, a relationship that has spanned 60 fruitful years, one which has grown into a strong, comprehensive, and pragmatic partnership that allows us to effectively address common challenges and harness shared opportunities for the benefit of our people, our regions, and the larger community of nations. Thank you. Good day.
Good afternoon, Your Excellencies. This question is for the both of you. What collective international action can be taken now amid the developments in the South China Sea that some observers say already suggest effective occupation of disputed and even non-disputed areas in the South China Sea? Would you agree that to delay action is to deny the realities on the ground that could affect trade, freedom of navigation, and even emotions of people?
Also, so wie der
Well, as the President just said right now, we share the concerns about the tensions arising in that particular part of the world. And we believe in good, pragmatic approaches, but we also believe in solid legal settlements of the dispute. So I think the international dispute settlement arrangements that we have on the basis of UNCLOS are a very good way forward in order to settle those differences.
What you see is that perhaps this problem has been put on the back burner for far too long. And that's why in the Philippines case, we want a resolution for this. We have been working through ASEAN, no, to ensure that the code of conduct is formally formulated and finally formulated. And also we are working through the United Nations offices specifically to address the arbitration issue we have brought up against China. I guess what we can report is that from being the back burner, this is at least in the consciousness of claimant countries as well as the rest of the world. And therefore, it is not a situation that can be ignored. And it has to be confronted. And perhaps that will prod everybody to arrive at a solution based on international law, based out of justice and in fairness. Thank you.
Frau Bundeskanzlerin Seefeld.
Madam Chancellor Seefeld from the ZDF, if you allow a question on another foreign policy issue, how do you assess the outcome of the referendum in Scotland? Are you relieved, and what does that mean for other efforts towards independence in Europe? Well, we have always respected the fact that this referendum was called, and the central government in London, after all, agreed to this, and now we respect the outcome of it as well. I don't expect any direct consequences of this on others, but there may well be indirect consequences. But I did not actually intervene in this or interfere in this affair before that, or gave advice to Scottish voters, which I think one would be well advised to abide by as a tenet. So I will not comment this, but just smile.
My question is, what do you think will be the role of Germany in resolving the territorial dispute in the South China Sea, or as what we Filipinos call it, the West Philippine Sea? And what do you think is the driving factor that can actually encourage China to get involved in a peaceful dialogue? Thank you.
When I visit China, I also always talk to those in political responsibility there about the approach that I think is one would be well advised to take, namely that a peaceful approach is and diplomatic approach is always the one that is called for. And I think that Germany would be also well advised to point to the fact that, after all, we have international bodies to settle such matters. For example, the International Tribunal on the Law of the Sea. For example, we've had similar problems in Europe with Slovenia, and others, and Slovakia, where we said, well, one should embark on such roads where delimitation, for example, of borders has to be settled by arbitration. So that is the road that we would opt for. Andreas Rinke of Reuters. I have a question addressed to the President. The Chancellor talked about the reconciliation process in your country with the Muslim minority. Do you expect, or do you fear rather, that due to ISIS in Iraq making such progress, there may well be a radicalization of Muslims in the Philippines? We have reports in the press now that radicalized young men go to Syria and Iraq and then swarm to other countries in order to take out the caps. And Madam Chancellor, on Ebola, another crisis, how large will be the contribution that Germany will be ready to put on the plate in order to combat this pandemic?
In regards to claims of being part of ISIS, we think these are more claims, and our intelligence reports tell us that they are not based on actual contact nor coordination with the same. It is an attempt to enhance their own status, especially for those that are increasingly being marginalized. But having said that, issue of being radicalized, some of our Muslim brothers joined the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. And our problems with our Muslim brothers started out from more, shall we say, the start were agrarian concerns and agrarian reform issues. The solutions were wrong, and we are now, in a sense, resetting the clock back, wherein there is trust between sides that will make us full partners in the fight against those that will seek to wreak havoc on our country.
Ja, wir erleben, dass die Ebola
What we see on Ebola is that this infection has actually taken a turn for the worse, for the dramatic in those countries that are affected. This is why, for example, Liberia has asked for help, but also Médecins Sans Frontières. We have been in contact with them, Doctors Without Frontiers, that is, but now there seems to be a really, truly challenging situation. We have given the contribution that was to be expected, namely to the World Health Organization, but we have seen that multilateral organizations, as regards their organization and effectiveness, cannot actually master this current challenge. So bilateral help is also called for. You have been informed the federal government will set up an airlift from Dakar to all of the 3 countries affected, Sierra Leone, Guinea, and Liberia, can then be supplied with help. The Bundeswehr, the Federal Armed Forces, will also set up a clinic, but we are trying to also enlist the help of private supporters. It is not a matter of money, let me state this very clearly, but more a question of logistics and of capacity and of getting the help there as quickly as possible. This afternoon there's going to be a meeting also with all of the government departments that are in charge of this, where we try to bring together what we can actually do. We are trying to do everything that we can, that is within our capacity in order to help, also as regards training of medical personnel, for example, that is urgently needed, no matter where these people come from. So it's not only help for Liberia, although we concentrate, that is a focal point of our help, but we also need to give others help. And it is less, again, a question of finances. It is certainly a question of capacity and of being able to get the help there as quickly as possible. The federal government will, this afternoon, after the state secretaries of the relevant ministries have met, inform you and brief you on the state of play. Thank you very much.